Hey everybody, this is Jerry Scarlata, and this is episode 16 of Thrive TV, and today we're going to talk about your metabolism. I want to help you understand what your metabolism is, how it works, how you can increase it, and a couple of other things that you can do to increase it in the short run and in the long run. Today we're going to talk about the fitness aspect of your metabolism, how you can increase your metabolism. Later in the week, we are going to talk about the nutrition aspect of your metabolism and how you can increase your metabolism through nutrition. Okay? So let's start off with what your metabolism is. When we talk about metabolism, is what we're generally talking about is your resting metabolic rate. So your resting metabolic rate is how many calories your body burns at rest. So if you sit and did nothing all day long, however many calories your body burns in that amount of time is your resting metabolic rate. So how many calories you burn at rest. So there are a couple of things that we can do to increase that number. All right, or there are a couple of things that affect that number. Number one, our overall physical activity, how active we are on a general basis. So if our job is sitting around at a desk and then going home, sitting in front of a TV, not doing much, and on the weekends, sitting in front of the TV, not doing a whole lot, your resting metabolic rate is going to be lower, because your biological processes don't have to work as hard to keep up with you. Your body understands that you're not doing much, so it doesn't work hard. So therefore, the more active you are, the harder your body has to work in general, the higher your metabolic rate will be, the higher your metabolism will be. The next thing that affects it is how much lean mass you have, how much muscle you have. Raining outside. Pretty heavy, actually. I don't know if you guys can hear that. So how much muscle you have. The more muscle that you have, the higher your metabolic rate will be, the higher your metabolism will be. The more calories you will burn at rest. The less muscle you have, the less it will burn at rest. It's relative to your weight. Obviously, a 5-foot, 110-pound girl, you're not going to get to 150 pounds of muscle. That's unrealistic, and most girls don't want to look like that. However, it's relative to your body and relative to your weight. So however much lean mass that you have relative to your weight, relative to your body, will increase. The more mass lean mass that you have, the higher that your resting metabolic rate will be, therefore the higher your metabolism will be. So these are the things. Those are the two things that affect your metabolic rate, how active you are in general, and then how much lean mass you have on your body. So there are a couple different types of exercise that we can do to increase these. Some of them take longer, some of them can be done in a shorter amount of time, some of them you have to be patient because they take a while to build up. So let's go over those so that we can understand how to increase our metabolism, so that as we get older, we don't have to worry about this metabolism slowing down epidemic that we're having. So the first thing we are going to look at is lifting weights. All right? So weights are something that a lot of people are scared of. I don't want to say a lot of people are scared of. I think especially women have a hard time going over and lifting weights. If you go to a fitness center, a general fitness center, most of the people on the weightlifting side are guys, number one, and younger guys, number two. Those things can be intimidating to middle-aged women. So lifting weights is going to be an important factor when it comes to increasing your metabolism. Like we already talked about, the more muscle you have, the more lean mass that you have, the higher your metabolic rate will be. Also, the more active you are, the higher it's going to be. However, with lifting weights, it's going to put lean mass on you. Therefore, as you sit there, your metabolism will be higher than if you are simply active walking. You walk on a daily basis, that's good. When you lift weights on a daily basis and put lean mass on, then your metabolism will be much higher. So lifting weights is a great way to do it because it puts on muscle. Okay? You also burn calories during exercise and after exercise. We're going to go over that in a second. Weightlifting is a great form of burning calories during exercise, especially if you're doing compound movements. What compound movements are movements that take more than one joint. So like a dumbbell curl is not a compound movement because all it takes is your elbow to do it. However, a deadlift or a squat, some form of deadlift or some form of squat, is a compound movement because it takes multiple joints. When you squat or deadlift, your knees are active, your hips are active, your shoulders are even active. So there are multiple joints involved. That means that it takes more energy to produce force to go through that movement. So you're burning more calories. Before I get into that too much, the next thing we're going to go over is steady state cardio. All right, so first we talk about lifting weights. Now we're going to talk about steady state cardio. And this is the one that is most mainstream right now. Steady state, what are you writing? There we go. So if I told you to go and do cardio, this is what everyone would do. Steady state cardio. What steady state cardio is doing cardio at a steady rate for an amount of time. So again, if you go into a general fitness center and you walk over to the cardio section, you'll see people lined up. You'll see rows of treadmills, rows of ellipticals, and people lined up on them. And most of those people have probably been there for at least half an hour because you've been taught that doing cardio, steady state cardio, will help you burn fat and will help you get in shape. Now, for other reasons, steady state cardio is important. However, there is a point of diminishing returns, especially when it comes to fat and increasing your metabolism. So with steady state cardio, because you're going at a steady rate, there is this ceiling that your body just says, okay, I'm going to burn this many calories at this rate, and I'm not going to burn any more because I understand it and I'm efficient at it. Once you get to the rate, if you do it for half an hour or you do it for 45 minutes, you're not going to burn any more calories because your body becomes adapted and efficient at that pace. So if you're keeping the same pace and you're on a treadmill for 60 minutes, it doesn't matter if you're on there for 60 or 45, you're not going to burn any more or less calories because your body is just efficient. Your body understands I get to the pace and I can work at it once I get there. So you're burning calories during steady state cardio, which is a good thing. That's increasing your metabolism while you're doing it. However, we talked about after workout also. After your workout, after steady state cardio, your metabolism recoups, your body recoups very quickly because it hasn't really been taxed all that hard. Now, if you go run a marathon, that's a whole nother issue. Then you're talking structural anatomical issues. But whenever you're talking about getting on a treadmill or elliptical for 30, 60 minutes or so, steady state cardio, your body recoups very quickly. So the after effect that you're going to get, the EPOC, excess post-oxygen consumption, which is how long it takes your body to really get back to homeostasis, that is a very short amount of time when it comes to steady state cardio. Okay? So although you're going to burn calories during this amount of time, during steady state cardio, the post-exercise calorie burn is going to be much shorter, okay, than lifting weights and the other two things that we're going to go over. So this is another way that we can increase our metabolism. However, it's not going to be quite as long-lasting, both within around exercise time and also long-term. So it doesn't put muscle on us. It's not as effective or as efficient as lifting weights, and not as effective as efficient as the other two things that we'll go over right now. So number one Intervals. And we've done an episode on intervals already, which I'll link up. And number 2, metabolic resistance training. I don't know why my E's, I'm having trouble with those things right now. Intervals and metabolic resistance training. So the reason that I'm going to talk about these two things together is because they're essentially the same but different. So they're the same because they're both intervals, they're both types of intervals, which I'll explain in a second. However, metabolic resistance training is simply intervals with resistance, or intervals with dumbbells, kettlebells, body weight, whatever it is. So it's doing an exercise for an amount of time and then resting and then doing it again. So what intervals are doing an exercise again for an amount of time. So just regular intervals, doing a sprint for an amount of time, we'll say 20 seconds, and then resting for a set amount of time or a heart rate amount of time. And I say that, I'll explain it in a second. So generally a set amount of time, and then doing it again, and then resting, doing it again, and resting. And that's an interval. And what I mean by resting dependent on your heart rate is there are zones that when you get your heart rate here, and then get it back down to a certain level, and then get it back up, and then back down to that same level, it is it's more effective than if you just do it by time. However, by time is just the easiest way to do it. So if I do a 20-second sprint and I want to get a 1-to-3 work to rest ratio, if I'm sprinting for 20 seconds and I'm trying to rest times 3, that's 60 seconds, so I'm going to rest for 1 minute, and then I'm going to go and do my sprint again. That's an interval. Metabolic resistance training is simply doing the interval with resistance, okay? So, where was I going with that? A couple of things about this. We talked about steady state cardio and how you can burn calories within steady state cardio. It takes a longer amount of time because your body's very efficient at it. The reason that interval training and metabolic resistance training are more bang for your buck when it comes to increasing your metabolism, both short-term and long-term, are number 1 with interval training, or we'll say with both. During your workout, because of this up and down that you're getting through the exercise, through the work and rest, because of that, your body has to work a lot harder. Your body has to work to get your heart rate back up whenever you start going again, and it has to work to come back down whenever you're resting. So because of that, you're burning significantly more calories in a much shorter time. Most research shows that 20 minutes of interval training you burn as many calories in 20 minutes of interval training as you do in 1 hour of steady state cardio, okay? So 20 minutes, 1 hour. However, what you don't see is the after effect. Everyone looks at how many calories am I burning during my exercise. What you don't look at is how many calories am I burning after my exercise. And those are the things that you don't see because you don't have your wrist strap on, you don't have your Fitbit on, and it's not telling you that, oh, you burned this many calories after your exercise. With steady state cardio, that number is very small, okay? That time frame is very small that your body recoups. However, with interval training, and especially with metabolic resistance training, that number is very large, okay? So, depending on how hard it is, with interval training, the average recovery time, or the amount of time that your body will burn a significant more amount of, am I saying that right? The amount of time that your body will burn more calories is about 2 hours after exercise. I'm not just talking about during exercise and then a little bit after. 2 hours after your exercise, your body will burn significantly more calories with interval training. With metabolic resistance training, it's up to 4 hours after, all right? And I'm talking about 20 to 30 minutes of interval training or metabolic resistance training. So not 1 hour, all right? With that 1 hour of steady state cardio, what you're getting is 1 hour of some calorie burn, and then maybe 30 minutes to 60 minutes of post-calorie burn, all right? So those are the things you have to look at when you talk about increasing your metabolism. It's not just what you're burning during your workout, it's what you're burning afterwards as well. So the reason that metabolic resistance training is more effective than even interval training is because with metabolic resistance training, what you also get is the added effect of weight training. And at the beginning of this session, what did we talk about? We talked about putting on muscles. Muscles, that's what that says. We talked about putting on muscles and how muscles helps you increase your metabolic rate, your resting metabolic rate. The more muscles you have, the higher that is, the more calories you burn while you sit there and do nothing. So with metabolic resistance training, you're using weights. You're using weights during your cardio. I'm clustering things up right now. Clustering is what I said. You're using weights during your cardio. So you're getting bang for your buck, okay? You're getting two for the price of one. So you're using weights. You don't have to use as heavy weights. You don't have to use heavy weights at all. But you're using weights. You're probably going to put on some lean mass. Again, it's going to take some time, so you have to be patient with that part of it. However, not only can you only work out for 20 to 30 minutes, you're going to get that 20 to 30 minute effect, and then you're going to get the 4-hour effect after that. Okay? So I'm sad that this is almost over because I kind of got in a groove there for a second. But anyway, so interval training and metabolic resistance training are the things that you want to do most often in order to increase your metabolism. Like we said, steady state cardio is something that you want to do sometimes. However, that's more of a cardiovascular issue because it's good for your heart to get that steady pace in there every once in a while. And when I say every once in a while, I mean like once or twice a week. And whenever I say steady state, I mean like half an hour at most, not 2 hours at a time. If you love running, that's fine. That's different. That's totally different. I'm not telling you not to run if you love doing it. However, if you're doing it for the sake of burning calories and burning fat, it is not the effective, efficient way to do it, okay? To increase your metabolism, interval training, metabolic resistance training, and weight training are the things that you want to do, all right? So where do you put these things in? How often do you do them? So on and so forth. So you can't do them every day because there's a point of diminishing returns, just like there is with anything else. When you do them every day, your body will become overly fatigued, you'll eventually get sick, and you'll probably start putting on a weight, again, depending on how hard you do them. Don't let me scare you. You have to do it very hard every day for a long amount of time. However, with any type of training and exercise, there is a point where your body says enough is enough. So you can't do it every day. However, if you do either metabolic resistance training or interval training 3 days a week or 4 days a week, depending on how many days of rest you're getting in between. So if you're doing them 3 days a week, say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so you're getting a weekend off of interval and metabolic resistance training, or 4 days a week, say Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, so you're getting Wednesday off and then you're still getting the weekend off, then you'll get enough recuperation so that your body is not going to have that breakdown effect, okay? So rest is always key, right? And that's a whole nother talk in itself. Rest is always key, so you don't want to do these kinds of things every day. Throwing in a steady state cardio here and there, going on the treadmill, running on the treadmill, outside, running outside, getting on the bike, pedaling on the bike for half an hour or so, or just going for a bike ride for however long you want to go for a bike ride, is awesome as well. Once, maybe twice a week to do that, to give your heart some variability so that it can function a little better with that. However, sticking to these two, again, I can't hammer it home enough. Stick to your intervals, stick to your metabolic resistance. If you want to increase your metabolism over the long run and you want to be more effective with your workouts, these are the things that you want to do. So, if you guys have any questions, you can hit us up on Twitter @TheThrivePack. Otherwise,